The play types, we have several different type of plays. The current main two that are working really well are going to be Play 2048 and Play Player. For the Play 2048, let's go to our plus. We'll click on the drop down. Let's go down to here. So we have what we call it's going to be called number grow on the list. So we have basically a set of different ones. There's a combined, meaning that when so for the basic game of 2048, if you have two objects that get combined, you have an effect animation that gets played. You have an effect that says when the objects get combined, you can actually play an effect on top of it. There is the end animation for when the tiles move across, an idle, a lose, and the states are lose and loss, meaning it's the first cycle and then a looping cycle. You have whenever tiles move, you can have an animation playing. The reset is if you're actually resetting the game, you can actually set the reset option on it. The start, so the very beginning, what does the tile look like when it comes into the scene for the game? Then you have the thumbnail, and you have the win and one. So win is a one time, and then a one is going to be this cycle for it. Alright, so we'll take a look at setting these up here. And this one's actually pretty quick because we're just focused on assigning the animations to it. So I'll click on the number grow tile. We'll go down to our Play 2048. Alright, so we'll just name this one. So you could either name it number grow or you could say 2048. Game style. And we'll go ahead and leave this one visible in game. We could say it receives light, but it's not really intended to be a part of the game. Image offset, I'll say it's just going to be on -2. Animations, if you have a lot, like we currently have some animations on it, so we'll go ahead and leave it a little bit lower so you can actually see the animation being affected when it's moving across the screen. So on our thumbnail, we'll go down to the thumbnail option there and close that one. Collider, we'll turn this one off. Alright. For the game mechanic itself, if we'll go ahead and just go down there real quick. On the number animations, we'll go ahead and place these in. So the start, we'll just go down to the start option, and it's just a one-time animation. And the idle loop. So idle, move, then you have end, combined, win, and one. Alright, and then the lose and loss. And one more for the reset. There we go. So now we've got all of our animations set up for it. Audio options are available there as well. The number effect, we'll go ahead and add this one since we're down here. Number effect, we'll say enable. The animation is going to be the effect. It's going to be parented to the other object. We'll have it a single time when it comes in, it'll just play the animation, but let's actually say it has a show duration. We'll say about 0.3 of a second. We'll do a fade of about 2. Position is set for 1 in front of. We'll do 2 just in case to make sure it's in front of everything. If your tile is 10, then you can use 10. If it's going to be different, then be sure to set this part of the effect is different. And it's a gray color, so I'll actually do like a yellow on it here, just so that it actually shows different inside the scene. Alright, and then of course if there was an effect audio for it, you could add that to it. Okay, so on the player controls, this is a player tile, which means it has joystick control in order to actually use it. You can say player and controller. You can actually choose the joystick 0 to 7 right here. By default, we'll go ahead and say enable player at start, so that if you put this tile in, depending on which joystick you've selected, you'll go ahead and be able to use it to play with. Alright, we'll say it's going to be the 8 directional. The number settings here are basically setting up the rules. What is the condition for win? We're saying it's the 2048 number value. The spawn count is how many do you want to start the game off with. We'll say it's going to make 2 tiles. There's a percentage, 88% will be spawn value 1. which means 12% will be spawn value 2, which will be the 4. Delay between moves is how long does it take before you get to actually move again. If you want a quick game, then you could take this to a lower number. If there's supposed to be kind of a rule-based or penalty system of take your time, then you could increase the value. Collider tiles is when the game gets made, the board, all the pieces can have colliders on them, so that if you wanted players to run around and jump on the pieces, you could do that. Saving high score, font size, and all these. So this is all part of just the basic number settings. The options for the board size, for the tiles and everything. This is basically saying it's going to be a 4x4 gridded square. So if we were to say 4x4, it's saying there's 4 grids on the game board that would all be 10x10 each. So you can set, from here, you can set this one, a padding of 6 between each one, and then you can offset it. By default, it'll be the corner out and up. So if you want this to be offset, you can actually change it so that, depending on where you want the board to start from and go to. Alright, then we have our colors for each one. So there are 11, I believe there's 11 here, so there'll be 12 different colors to choose from. The colors themselves, this is just to identify what state the player is in during gameplay, so that if you were wanting to say that they're actually just going from a red to green to blue, you could do that. If I was doing a simple one though, I'm just going to take this and actually make each one just a little bit darker. And that'll give the player a visual cue that they are actually progressing in some form of direction. And you could change these to any color you want. You could set it up for totally different type of system. Just depends on what you're looking for. If you wanted to change it up so that at some point all of a sudden the colors actually start changing to a different color rather than just to a gray tone there. There you go. And then this could change to any other color as well. Maybe being the last one, it gets to a different tone. Actually, we could say it gets to more of a green. There you go. So I'll run through the different colors that will be assigned to whatever image you have applied for the number grow. Alright, so that's the color, the number tiles. Tiles is just going to be setting up the properties for how it moves, how it comes in, how it grows. By default, the default settings are pretty good for it. There's also the ease out back, which will give a nice little bring in and bring out for the start and the end. And then the combine option again too, using the in back right there. So just have a nice little pop to it as it comes in. Alright, the reset value option here. If you go for a reset, meaning that you're using an event trigger and you click a button and it causes the reset, this is just simply saying how are all the tiles going to leave the screen. You can do it by a value, or you could do it by a and or by an animation. And then the number text, what's the text going to look like? We'll say text is going to be black on this one. The depth will be in front. And then the offset is, where is it offset from? Scale, we'll go ahead and say is 10 by 10. Alright, so that's going to set us up for our number grow system. By default, we're saying that it starts at the very beginning, so when you drop it in, push play, you'll actually be playing the game with the controller, the keyboard. And then outside of that, it's just based on how you want to interact with it. With GUI controls, with the other players, if you want to make it for the trigger setting, if you want to activate it by play. Again, you can actually say it only gets activated when another player goes to it, and then when the player exits, then the game turns off. So a lot of different options available through that.